Did you do your homework? I'm going to. When? In a minute. You said that 20 minutes ago. I know. And there it is. The worksheet is still untouched. Everybody's frustrated. And what started as homework has somehow become a fight about attitude, responsibility, respect, and whether anybody in this house is listening to anybody else. But before we call it defiance or lazy or bad parenting, there's another question worth asking. What if the work is not actually the hardest part? Today, we're talking about the homework battle. This is Wisdom from the Porch with GP. Think about what school asks of a child. Sit here. Now move there. Listen. Don't talk. Talk now. Stop talking. Remember the directions. Ignore the hallway. Ignore the kid tapping the desk. Find the right paper. Turn to page 63. Do the problem this way. Wait your turn. Keep track of your backpack. Remember lunch. Remember your homework. Manage disappointment. Manage boredom. Manage frustration. Manage other people. Then, after 6 or 7 hours of that, we send them home with more work. For many children, that's manageable. For some neurodivergent kids, that transition can be where everything finally comes apart. And parents get confused because the teacher says you were fine all day. Exactly. Maybe they were. Maybe they spent everything they had being fine all day. Home can and should become the place where the mask comes off. Where the body finally says, I can't hold this together anymore. That doesn't automatically mean every after-school meltdown is caused by ADHD, and it doesn't mean expectations disappear. But it does mean behavior needs context. Because if we misread what's happening, we may spend an hour trying to solve the wrong problem. There's, I don't want to do this. And then there's, I can't seem to make myself begin this. From the outside, those can look exactly the same. The worksheet is still blank. The child is still avoiding it. You still have somewhere to be at 7 o'clock. But internally, they can be very different experiences. Homework can require a whole chain of executive functions. Remembering that the assignment exists, finding the materials, understanding the instructions, deciding where to begin, holding information in working memory, ignoring distractions, managing frustration, estimating time, staying with something that may be boring, checking the work, then actually remembering to put it back in the backpack. That's not one task. That's a collection of tasks hidden underneath one word, homework. And sometimes the child understands the math perfectly. The barrier is getting from, I need to do math, to actually putting pencil to paper. That's why repeating, you know how to do this, may be completely true and still not solve the problem. Knowing how and being able to initiate it right now are not always the same thing. Parents get tired too, right? That belongs in this conversation. You worked all day, dinner needs to happen, there are clothes somewhere that apparently refuse to wash themselves. Maybe another child needs something. Tomorrow is already coming, and now homework has consumed the entire evening. So your voice gets sharper. Come on, focus. We've been sitting here for 40 minutes. If you would just do it, you would already be finished. And from the parent side, that frustration makes sense. You can see the finish line. It's right there. But the child may hear something else. What is wrong with you? Why can't you do something this easy? Everybody else can handle this. You're ruining the evening. Now, nobody may actually say those words. I hope not. But shame is very good at filling in blanks. And once shame enters the room, homework just gets harder. Now the child is not only solving the assignment, they're also managing frustration, embarrassment, your disappointment, their disappointment, fear of getting it wrong, and maybe the growing belief, I'm bad at school. That's a lot to carry into question number 4. So what can help? Well, start before the homework starts. Look at the transition home. Some kids need decompression before another demand. Food, water, movement, quiet, a little time without anybody asking them another question. That's not automatically procrastination. Sometimes it's recovery. Think of it as a landing. School ends, but the nervous system may not have arrived home yet. Second, make the beginning smaller. Do your homework can be enormous. Instead, try, let's get that worksheet out. That's one task. Then, which question looks easiest? One task. Then, let's do that one. You're reducing the distance between stuck and started. Third, make time visible. Instead of, you need to finish this, try, let's work for 15 minutes, then stop for 5. A visible timer can make an undefined demand feel finite. Fourth, ask where the actual problem is. Do you understand the assignment? Do you know where to start? Are you tired? Is there too much noise? Is this boring? Are you worried you'll get it wrong? Different problems need different solutions. You can't solve confusion with discipline. You can't solve exhaustion with another lecture. And you cannot solve a missing skill by telling someone to try harder. Supporting a neurodivergent child doesn't mean removing every difficult thing. Children still need to learn frustration tolerance, responsibility, follow through, how to do things they would rather not. The question is, what kind of support helps them eventually do more for themselves? Maybe you sit beside them while they start, but you don't give the answers. Maybe you help divide the assignment into sections, but they choose which section comes first. Maybe you help create a checklist. Then over time, they begin using the checklist without you. Support should build capacity, not permanent dependence. Sometimes the most useful question is not, how do I get them to finish this tonight? It's, what skill are we trying to build for next year? Because eventually, you won't be standing beside the kitchen table. And the larger goal is not producing a completed worksheet. It's helping a person understand how to work with their own brain. And maybe you're listening to this without a child anywhere near you. But you remember that table. You remember hearing, you're not trying, you're careless, you're lazy. Why can't you finish this? Maybe nobody knew about executive function. Maybe nobody knew about ADHD. Maybe you didn't know. So you grew up believing the struggle meant something about your character. And now, 30-some years later, a simple administrative task can still bring that same feeling back. There's the form. There's the email. There's the bill. There's the thing you absolutely know how to do. And somehow, you can't begin. Then that old voice comes back. Just do it. Maybe what the younger version of you needed was not someone lowering every expectation. Maybe you needed somebody to get curious. Where are you getting stuck? That question still works. You can ask yourself now. Tonight, if homework becomes a battle, try not to begin with, how do I make this child comply? Begin one step earlier with, what's making this hard right now? Maybe the answer is still, they simply don't want to do it. That happens. But maybe it's fatigue, transition, confusion, task initiation, hunger, overstimulation, fear of failure, or a day spent holding themselves together until they reached the one place where they finally felt safe enough to fall apart. You can still have expectations. You can still have structure. You can still say, this needs to get done, but understanding what's underneath the behavior changes how you help. And sometimes that's the difference between finishing homework and spending another night at war with somebody you love. If something from today is still sitting with you, drop it in the comments. I read everything. Sometimes some of it comes back to the porch. Today's episode is supported by Cloud Microphones, built for voices that have real things to say. cloudmicrophones.com. Monday, you made it through the meetings, the conversations, the noise, the small talk, the constant effort of looking fine. And now it's 6 o'clock, and there's nothing left. We're talking about masking and the exhaustion nobody else sees. See you then.